Son! Yo, son, what's up? What?
You're not my dad! You also hear something! Ugly ass
Man, kids can be very bitter. Children. They can be quite the handful, to put it lightly. People can say they are not aware of their surroundings or never pay attention even if it's a life or death situation. It's a stigma that we've all experienced around that age. And sometimes those who are older will try to take advantage of that perception. However, in doing so, they could end up realizing that isn't always the case. Talia recognized that firsthand as we take a closer look at mini monsters.
Box, 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 rope, rope, wind! Oh, sorry. Box, box, box.
Starting off this episode with the montage of Tyler's constant failures really pushes the amount of persistence of reaching that goal of becoming a jokester. And seeing Miss Flint continuing to be more frustrated as each week goes by is a very simplistic way of getting the dynamic between these two set up. We haven't really seen them interact as much throughout the season this far. Considering she's the one that decides who gets to be a jokester, it makes sense to try and cover the main obstacle in the way of Tyler getting on the floor. So when we do get to the point where Miss Flint had to be blunt, we get more of an understanding why she would want to cut the cord on Tyler because she feels it was never going to work out. The dialogue is also showing her disinterest very strongly as she continues to botch Tyler's last name and even describe a very specific person that can be funnier compared to him. I think Miss Flint overall isn't the most interesting, as I feel she fills the box of being the Simon Cowell of the show, but she is very important to this particular episode. We need to know what Tyler is dealing with. Just like how show creators have to deal with Netflix's algorithms. Tyler had to be told he sucks at being funny because the statistics say so. Plus, the final shot of the lights going out was a powerful visual to really push the idea that he struck out on getting on the floor.
Hello, mini monsters. Remain with your chaperones, please.
Snow cones here! Get your snow cones! We've got lemon, we've got lingonberry, and the original snow flavored!
It's Mini Monsters Day.
Now we're introduced to the event of Mini Monster Day. I'm not going to lie, the beginning of the scene does feel a bit forced. I do think that with the introduction to the younger monsters coming in, the factory did feel a lot busier and much livelier compared to previous scenes. A critique I've mentioned in my past perspective of the show entirely. I really enjoyed how we get a couple of characters to explain what they do in a comedic way to give us the setting Sully explained about. Honestly, I prefer that over Sully explaining things here. Like, I know why they did this. They really want to make sure Mike and Sully are featured in some sort of capacity. However, I feel that the biggest criticism I have with this show is that in itself. While I do think it's good to see them every now and again, there are times where it felt like they were filling it with some nostalgic points and not helping with the overall plot. Sully's awkward explanation is a prime example of that, because the kids playing around, plus Celia, Needleman, and Smitty explaining their jobs does more than enough to give us the idea of what Mini Monster Day is all about.
Do I have to do this, Mom?
It's just for one day.
You say that every year.
Now we introduce the final and main piece to this episode, Talia Flint. Considering her introduction to this episode, I'm pretty sure you know where this is going. I will say she gives off more personality than her mom. Clearly, this isn't her first rodeo because of her relationship with one of the most important figures within the company. Her knowledge of the department and knowing the perceptionist makes a note of how she is very knowledgeable of what goes on around Monsters Incorporated. So her reaction to her being with Mifter for the day isn't surprising, especially with how the other kids in her group are having the same feeling.
Lucky you, I got stuck with Miss Flint's kid.
Miss Flint's kid? Is in Miss Flint the one who's in charge of the auditions, Miss Flint?
Yeah, Flint.
Miss Flint's kid? The doctor said he couldn't see him right now.
Doctor jokes are comedy gold!
Ugh, my god. This dude is the epitome of cringe. I think it's pretty easy to state how incredibly self-centered he is. Like, bro, your doctor jokes are just like the cavity you probably have. They need to be removed from your mouth immediately. In the end, it is important because it shows how desperate Tyler is in getting on the laugh floor. He's really wanting to rely on the perception of the easy persuasion of a child. It's so easy to be blinded by this because as an adult, we believe they'll laugh at everything, no matter if it makes sense or not. So him hopping on this idea that simply entertaining Miss Flint's daughter could give him another shot at making it to the laugh floor isn't a shock.
For the next 9 hours,
That includes lunch and 2 15-minute breaks.
I want you to think of this place as your,
Home away from home?
your home away from hope.
Buckle up.
I really like the variety of relationships each pairing has with one another. While they all seem to get along well, it feels like they are fond of each other for different reasons. Val and her Minnie seemed intertwined with their bubbly personalities. Duncan admires the business practices of his Minnie. Cutter's Minnie became in awe of her collection of Mifter accident memorabilia. And Fritz used his adorable dad powers to help his Minnie feel welcome. They feel like an extension of the characters themselves in a way, or a small challenge to bring out a character's best quality. While everyone else has a good start with their respective Minnie, Tyler does not have nearly the same success because Talia is bringing out his worst quality. His persistence and impulsiveness to try and get Talia to laugh gets a very negative reaction from her, which signifies how often when she gets paired, it's always with someone trying to gain something. So she's clearly not going to play that game with Tyler.
We lost our kid. Sorry.
What do you mean you lost your kid?
Now we're playing with high stakes of a Minnie finding himself cruising in the freaking door shaft. How in the world do these two still have their jobs? Why have they not been reported for child endangerment? So the action scene was very well executed. The pace was very upbeat and it really showed the dynamic of the Mifters' communication and how smooth each of them are with their reaction times. The shots being used as each group tries to chase down the Minnie were all very well placed together. And it really is a prime example of the show's strength. We see each Mifter's strength throughout the chase, and more importantly, we start to see Talia witness Tyler in better light with his quick-wittedness and bravery in rescuing the child. Even seeing her aid on this mission really gave them that strong connection at the end of it.
We got the baby.
Safe and sound.
Hey, and speaking of green, what's round, green, and goes honk honk?
Bro, come on. You had it, man. Why'd you have to go and fumble the bag with these crappy jokes? What a way to show your priorities. You have to really feel for Talia in this scene. This was probably the most fun she has had at a mini monster day in a very long time. For once, she was able to experience someone who she thought had wanted her to feel involved within the department she was assigned to. It's clear that the majority of her time on these bring your kid to work days is that whoever she is assigned with is more focused on using her to get on her mom's good side. She has shown that she is more intelligent than what they believe an average kid is. So she's able to observe someone just by seeing what they do as an interaction. In this case, a lot of monsters that are tied with her are only focused on trying to impress her like they want to impress Miss Flint, as if she's some key to win her mom over. Which for any kid, that's a tough pill to swallow. You want people to genuinely want to be with you because of who you are, not because of what status your parents are. You can't blame her for returning to being unfazed by Tyler's tactics once he goes back to his god-awful jokes, even justifying putting the same dagger Miss Flint put in. Only this time, you feel a lot less sympathy for him given his reaction to what Talia did.
She can walk herself upstairs, march into her mom's office, and tell her that!
Okay. I'll go tell her that.
Well, he's fucked. Once again, Tyler's tunnel vision becomes a huge reason for shooting himself in the foot. The way he continued to rant about how he lost what he perceives to be the last chance he had in getting on that floor, continuing to put the blame on others instead of looking into a mirror, not even realizing that he has gone completely mask off, and how easy it was for Talia to overhear him crap talking about her mom. So when she announced that she was gonna snitch, why wouldn't she? He made it clear that he sees her as nothing but a tool for his personal goals. The dude's head is so far into his butt that he doesn't realize what he just did until 10 seconds after Talia left the room. Also, I can't stop thinking of Tyler doing a Melee Fox impression when he calls out Talia's name.
Talia! Fire!
Well, he finally found his comedy touch. I think his urgency in trying to stop Talia and making a fool of himself in the process was a good way for him to fess up in what he was trying to do the whole time. Clearly she already knew that, but gave him props for his eventual honesty at the end. It also helps give him a glimpse of what his comedy gimmick could be in the near future, considering what he looked like after he crashed into a donut stand. Granted, I don't really think he deserves respect from Talia, since he only admitted to it because he didn't want his name to be in the negative light with Miss Flint. However, I do understand that for Talia, he's the first person to be willing to admit that he wanted to use her. So in a way, it really opens up the idea that she is more than just a dumb kid that can be easily used as a stepping stone. She is someone who has more feelings and awareness of what is going on around her. Plus, you have to give props to him for showing that the myth department is a lot more than what is persistent at first glance.
I thought you all were just a bunch of weirdos hidden away in your underground loony bin.
Not that far off, hon.
I was wrong. You are the true power that keeps this power plant running. So, today, I want to say, I'm proud too. Proud to call myself a mini Mifter.
Really powerful speech! So now with Talia expressing how much she enjoyed her time with the Myths, we now start seeing Tyler realizing what he has within the department. I think Talia was a nice reflection of how Tyler's experience with the Myth team changed his perception of working there as well. This was the first time he recognizes that maybe sticking with the Myth department permanently can be a fun thing for him after all. But of course, we get a small seed to plant before Talia makes her exit with her mom. Obviously, there was a lot of setting up for the next episode since the show follows a major storyline within it. It helps tie up the main point while also opening up to more questions. With Miss Flint shocked about her daughter's opinion of Tyler actually being funny, it makes you wonder when she does give him another opportunity, will he actually take it? Or would he be satisfied to stay where he is and enjoy the Myth life? I think overall, the episode can be a mixed bag, but there were a lot of enjoyments within it that outweighs the negative. There were certainly scenes that were a bit forced, Sully's explanation of Mini Monster Day being the prime example. Even then, the way the door shaft scene was executed was very fun and pleasing to watch occur. Every single Mifter shines within it, and it really shows how they are considered the unsung heroes of Monsters Incorporated. I also think it really shows the idea of why you can't just assume you can influence a kid very easily. Just because they haven't experienced the world much, doesn't mean that it's impossible for them to be aware of what's going on with whoever they're speaking with. They may be inexperienced, but they're not dumb. Most of the time. Look, just be chill with these beans, alright? That's all I got for this closer look. I hope you enjoyed this review. I would love to hear what you guys think of this episode or the series as a whole. If you want to hear my take of the entire show, don't fret, because it's already done and you can check it out now. Thanks for the grapes on Patreon. If you want this bat to screech out your name on the screen, you can do so for $1 on Patreon. For that and other perks, go to patreon.com/jbreviews. Until then, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.